all, I just wanted to say that it is a huge thrill to even be a part of this whole thing that is happening. Like, to be in a room with this many creative souls is pretty incredible. And so thank you, Jamie and Tara, wherever you are, for making this all happen, because it's a beautiful thing that's happening in our community. So thanks. I've forgotten everything, so I'm just going to sit down. No. You know, just listening to everybody's stories, some people are born making art. You know, it's like they're born with a brush in their hand. For me, that couldn't be further than the truth. I was born in a family with 4 older brothers, 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, all 7 of us. And my parents would open the door in the morning and out we'd tumble. We would just run wild till we got called in for dinner. And my entire childhood was comprised of trying to keep up with my big brothers in like a mad rush of football games and gymnastics on the lawn and running around in the neighborhood. And I was always an intense observer, but the idea of sitting in a room with a paintbrush in my hand would never have occurred to me. It was my first brush with art was when our neighbor asked my mom if he could paint my portrait. I sat, I was about 6, flower girl dress, had my little hands folded in my lap, and it came out looking like me, but with one exception. Face totally fine, I had all the details of the dress, spot on, but my hands came out like a pair of animal claws. And the portrait went in the closet, a couple years went by, and one day my youngest brother, Mike, he had just read a book on Da Vinci, and he was super excited about art and painting, and he got an oil painting set for Christmas. And one day he pulled out the claw painting. That artist would hate to hear this story. And he painted over the hands and made a massive improvement. So he was suddenly family artist. Life went on. And I went through all of school, never took an art class. I somehow graduated without a single one. Did all the slash jobs, so retail, waitressing, TV aerobics instructor, did everybody do that? And the game show contestant. And then after I won some money on a game show, Globetrotter, that was fun. But by the time I found myself grown up, married, pregnant, I realized I had no direction going on in my life. And one day I picked up a design magazine and it just struck me that was what I was supposed to be doing. Except I had no art background. So I ran out, got some supplies, signed up for some night school classes, and threw a portfolio together, and basically faked my way into design school, which worked out. I loved it right from the start. Whoa, is that ever bright? My favorite part of design school was that we kept these field sketchbooks where you had to learn to quick draw whatever you saw. And it was a huge relief to find out I could actually draw, so that was good. I graduated, started a design company right away, and a lot of my first jobs were doing renderings and working drawings for other designers and architects. And right from the start, I loved business, and I loved art. And I just kind of took my career in lots of fun directions. I started opening design stores, then other kinds of retail stores. I got involved in sales and then sales training, coaching, marketing. But always I had this art thing, so sometimes on the side, sometimes in the forefront. Did some shows, taught some classes, but it wasn't until '08 that I started to take art for its own sake more seriously. I got an invite from a school to go and do this program where they bring in one artist for every student in grade 7, which is cool. We show them our process and support them to make a piece in our style. And I started making notes for my artist, and before I knew it, I had written the whole story of how to make a watercolor sketchbook journal in a watercolor sketchbook journal. And the people at the school thought it was awesome, so I copied it and made it into a book. What I had wanted to share with that artist was kind of what Joanne was saying. You know, it's not about what ends up on the paper. It is all about the observation, you know, what happens to your brain when you sit and really look at something. And which was fun. A lot of the local papers did stories on my little book, and as a result, I ended up getting invited to go and do a residency. Didn't even know what that was at the time. And I ended up in Wells, BC, doing something called the Tony Only Project. And what they do is invite 20 artists from across the country. They put us all in this little town, and they bring in 2 mentors, and we have 10 days where we're just working intensely to create new work, and we put on a show. And then at night, we sit around and talk about, how to find opportunities and expand our art practice. And right after that, I discovered, well, not that I discovered, but I stumbled on relief printmaking. And I partnered that up with the watercolor that I was doing, used my interest in travel, cities, rendering, and I started to do these series of cityscapes in relief print and watercolor. I used the tips that I learned at Tony Only, started applying for residencies and shows, and it worked. I started getting invites to really cool places. So now what I do is when I get an invite, I do a pre-sell to my database to sell the work that I'm going to create on the trip. That pays to get me there and my expenses, which is great. I only apply to residencies that are partially or fully funded, so they're either super cheap or free. And then I arrange shows so I can sell the extra work when I get back. So it all kind of works together. It's been a good sort of recipe for me. But the reason I do it is because I love living in these, farmhouses with artists from all over the world, short term, and you spend every day working together, sharing stories, just having these awesome experiences. And for me, it's that's the draw, is having that kind of bonding time, then learning what I learned from them, bringing it back to Vancouver with me. So I have 3 residencies coming up this year, 1 in Mexico and then 2 in Italy. One is a group trip where we're going to be painting murals in Sicily, which will be awesome. I think some of you might be there. And the other one is printmaking in a deconsecrated church in Tuscany. So yay! My side hustle over the last couple years has been teaching watercolor on cruise ships, which is super fun. So it's a good way to travel. When you're teaching, you're always learning, so I love that. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it works because I get a ton of work done while I'm on board, and there's a captive buying audience. So it ends up being like a residency with a built-in sale at the end. So, yay! So I love making art, and I love the opportunities that it's brought to me for travel. Love sharing that passion with other people. And my brother, who painted over the claw hands, he's deferred the family artist title to me. And I'm just super happy with the direction it's all gone. Still not about what ends up on the paper, though. Like, for me, it is all about the adventure and the people that I meet along the way and what it's brought into my life that way. So for any of you who are thinking about wanting to do residencies, there's some really good, very tiny writing resources up there. But for me, most of the ones that I've done, I found on resartist.org. It's amazing. If you want to follow along on my adventures, you can do that at Carol McQuaid Art. And you can sign up for my newsletter at carolmcquaidart.com. I have a couple shows coming up if you can catch them. One is Water and Wood. It's what this piece is from. That's opening at Place des Arts in Coquitlam on the 28th. And starting next week, I'll be at Van Dusen Gardens with the BC Plein Air Painters as part of the Cherry Blossom Festival. Part of that is a paint out on April 20th. So for those of you who are so inclined, grab your gear, come out and paint with us. Would be super fun. And that's it. Thanks for letting me share my journey, and go have some fun art adventures.